As always, we'll just give everybody like 5 minutes to come in. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for being here today. Filling in for Stephanie. She's not feeling well. And basically, what I wanted to do is go over object-oriented JavaScript again. And I added some more examples and another topic with scopes, closures, and what's referred to as a revealing module pattern, which all sounds very fancy. But hopefully we can kind of boil it down to what it's all about. And I did not record yesterday. I thought that when I hit record at the end, it would go to the back, but maybe I clicked the wrong thing. But so today we're going to record, so that way this is accessible. So yeah, so how's everybody feeling today? See some people in the chat. Rick, Matthias. Okay, we got some more people coming in. Everybody's doing good. Sounds good. Everybody's so you know the dinosaur project is going to be due at the end of this month, I believe on the 25th, give or take a day, if would see what the final decision is on that. So you know, if you have the landing page outstanding, which I think is most likely the case, the blog project wasn't, you know, terrible, then you know, I would suggest, you know, continue working on it. If there's a program that you really want to be in and you know, you really want to see it to the end, then I would say, you know, learn this new material and continue to work on that landing page project. And you know, you have this month to kind of do both of those, to really focus on both of those things. So if anybody was looking for that advice, I just wanted to mention that. All right, so everybody can see my screen. So yeah, so as we were saying yesterday, cool, thumbs up. As we were saying yesterday, we kind of talk about JavaScript in reference to other programming languages, because JavaScript is, you know, newer than those languages relatively, although it's, you know, it's been around for now a few decades. And when JavaScript was first created, it was by a fellow by the name of Brandon Ike at Netscape. And just an aside, you'll notice like a lot of technologies that become popular, they start at companies. So for example, TypeScript, I believe Microsoft created. So they were, and these technologies are solutions. So the language itself is like a solution to, like, you know, the problems that they're trying to solve at the company. And for example, another good example is React, and that's from Facebook. And so Facebook is trying to have their app experience across all devices. There was a point in time, like when Apple announced the iPhone, there was no Facebook app. And it was like that for a while until Facebook realized, okay, yeah, we need to have an app on every device, and we need to have a really robust web app, and it all needs to be, you know, react and be in sync, you know. So React is like the brainchild of like those problems that they were facing inside of Facebook, so that they can continue to scale and grow and gain new users. And Angular is a similar story, but at Google. So so yeah, so you'll hear kind of like where these things come from, and this is kind of like the origin stories. With you've heard of Bootstrap CSS. It used to be called Twitter Bootstrap, and then now we just dropped the Twitter. But you know, when Twitter was popular in San Francisco, they noticed a lot of engineers couldn't really do CSS very well, so they created internally, you know, they noticed that, and then once they created it, they looked out in the developer community and they noticed it's a problem across the community, so they open source. And we've gone over what open source is, and I'm sure a lot of you already know what that is, but basically you're making the code available to the community so that anybody can come in and contribute, and GitHub is, you know, a way to access the code and contribute to other code bases that are open source. Okay, so coming back here. So JavaScript versus other programming languages. Java is not JavaScript, or JavaScript is not Java. And there's some differences in the way that they are. And they're both object-oriented, but with JavaScript, we don't have classes. We have this thing called the prototype. And so JavaScript in the context of object-oriented programming, I mentioned this guy, Douglas Crawford. He's good to check out, a pretty big influencer when it comes to JavaScript. He wrote a book called JavaScript, The Good Parts. So JavaScript has gone through many updates, and there's been many ways to use JavaScript in programs, or for writing programs. And so he's kind of boiled it down to what he thinks is really powerful about the language. So he refers to it as a class-free, object-oriented language, and as such, it uses what's referred to as prototypal inheritance instead of classical inheritance. And so what is prototypal inheritance? In JavaScript, we only have one construct. It's the object. And each object has a private property which holds a link to another object called a prototype. The prototype object has a prototype of its own. And so until the object is reached with null as its prototype. So if you have an object and you're using its properties, and let's say it has inherited properties from another object, if you try to use those properties, it first looks on the object that you have, the principal object, and then it goes down, depending on how you want to phrase it, it either goes down or up into the next object that it's inheriting a prototype from to find those properties if it can't find it on the object itself that you're using. So one object gets access to another object's properties and methods. And here's the
question to that. Sorry for interrupting you. When you try to get something on the object and it goes up to the chain and it can't find it, will it be turned null because the last thing is null, or what will it return in the console if it returns something?
That's a great question. It's kind of something that I thought when I was kind of putting this all together, because I've only thought so deeply about prototypes myself. You know, when it comes down to programming, a lot of times, you know, coming up with like an algorithm or a data structure is kind of, you know, what is kind of the pressing matter. But, you know, understanding how things work under the hood is always like very valuable. When I tried it, like, so if you try to run a string method on an array, you get back an error. So what I'm thinking, because I haven't really been able to find much literature on it or anything, like someone writing a blog or anything official, is that it goes through the prototype chain, and once it reaches null, then there must be code inside there that says, if null, throw an error. So that would be my best guess. But if anybody wants to take that question upon themselves and do some more efficient Googling than I've done, please come back to us. Like, what happens if, you know, you run a method on an object and it's not part of the object or its prototype chain and it reaches null, what happens then? My best guess is you get an error, because that's what happens in the console. Like if you try a string method on an array, like I said, mentioned before. How's that sound?
Right, thank you. Yeah, it was more deeper insight than I could give myself. So
okay, cool. Yeah, I hope that helped. So yeah, so here's that diagram, right? So here is an array, like on the left-hand side, of numbers 1, 2, 3. We can run the array methods that are on the array prototype. And then if we want, we can run this dot to string, and it'll look for it first here. And when it can't find it, it'll go to the next prototype, which is the object. It'll find it and it'll run it. If it can't find it, it'll go to null, which I believe will then cause the error. Like, so, you know, just to further illustrate what I was trying to explain before. All right. So here's what we'll do today. We'll go over object literals again for creating an object, function for creating an object, this Object.create method, which I actually found yesterday. I couldn't find it, but it's under, if you look at an object inside the console and then you look under constructor, the create method is there. So, and then the constructor function with the new keyword, and then the ES6 class syntax. And I wanted to look at the React documentation because we were talking a little bit about React yesterday. And then this thing that they go over, I forget which lesson it is, but it's something called a revealing module pattern. And it's another way to create an object using something called an immediately invoked function expression. And it's a pretty cool concept. And that's where I think you start to step into writing like a more complex program. There's going to be like a project later on with this news AI API. And you'll get to learn about and use something called Webpack. And with Webpack, they rely heavily on this concept where every library or kind of outside piece of code that you install into your program as a dependency is bundled as a module, and your code itself is also gets bundled up as a module.